Welcome, and welcome back to Heretic Owl Tarot. I know, like I was saying that I was going to have literature just to kind of share some insights into the profiles just at the beginning of each reading, and I did not have the mental capacity to hunt some of that stuff down, because I do think that it would be cool to, it's the first line in me. I'm a Heretic investigator 5-1. So I love learning other people's perspectives, and I think it would be cool to bring other people's perspectives and of course give them a shout out. So anyway, since I don't really have that this time around, we'll just kind of recap your profile, and then of course we'll get into the reading. So if you're here, you are a hermit, heretic, or heretic, and or a 2-5 profile. And it's interesting with your profile and the 5-2, it's just switched around there, but you have the double projection field going on, which I can imagine would be, to an extent, difficult to navigate, because that second line, hermit, has this kind of desire to be left alone. And there's also this kind of inherent, innate aptitude. So not that like necessarily everything just comes easily to you, but there is kind of this natural talent for something, quality about that second line. So having the 5th line, heretic, that 5th line does need the interactions of other people, because that's how they universalize information, and even universalizing your talent, right? So that second line needs to be kind of called out by other people, because it's hard for second lines to recognize that within themselves. Not that it's impossible by any means, it's just the energy of the line. So then that 5th line is going to bring people into your existence that will kind of recognize that innate quote unquote genius within you. But it also comes with a projection field that can be a bit, like rocky, if people, because people are projecting their expectation on that 5th line, right? So if for some reason you don't live up to that projection, then they kind of burn you, so over time you might just kind of get a bit wary about the interactions that you have, or even, letting people in, even like taking on, quote unquote, leadership positions, or stepping into roles that have expectations. And really, like, the best thing that can be done, or, like even practiced, is, well, for one, you would always want to follow that strategy and authority, because that's built to help you enter into correct experiences for you. Like, just because you can do something, just because you have the ability to, does not mean that you should, which of course can be a bit uncomfortable too. there's a lot of like getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, because again, you know, just because you can does not mean you should. It doesn't mean that it's right for you, or at least in that moment. But, you know, if your strategy and authority does deem it to be correct for you, then the best thing you can do is, it's kind of like get in, do your thing, right? Like do the thing that you have the genius, quote unquote, to do, and then get the F out. Because it's kind of like, you know, overstaying your welcome, or even, you know, starting to navigate areas where you don't have as much certainty or expertise or knowledge or even care about, right? Like then it just starts getting a bit murky, and those projections can start coming up a bit more. So again, you know, it's a practice. They call it an experiment. Just something to be aware of. And also, you know, last thing before we get into the reading, there's also, you know, like almost kind of a loyalty factor. Like you need to trust the people who are inviting you to do something or asking you to step in and help out with whatever it is. It doesn't even have to be like this big thing, right? I mean, you know, it's all across the spectrum. Like I said, it doesn't have to be something like major where you're like saving a company or something like that. It can be that, but it's almost kind of like you need to have like a certain level of trust built up with them. And even, you know, like a certain level of trust within your own abilities. So again, you know, I mean, that might just kind of make you a bit hesitant to get involved in stuff. So you tend to rely on that hermit a bit too much, like just kind of stand on the sidelines or not really kind of come out of that cave. But the fifth line needs you to do that. So it's just kind of a matter of, like I said, you know, experimenting, practicing, knowing that those projections from that fifth line, it is not you, it is them. Even if it is you, that would be your responsibility to unpack, right? Like, why was I involved in this situation the way that I was involved? Was it something that I was interested in? Was it something I had experience in? Was it, you know, did I enter into this with my strategy and authority? And, you know, depending on those answers, of course, right? Like just adjusting as needed and carrying on, right? So we'll shuffle a few more times here. We're looking for a message for our 2 5s, our Hermit Heretics. Here we go. All right. The 9 of Wands. Ace of Cups has been coming out a lot. I've seen it a lot. Page of Wands, Queen of Pentacles, 3 of Cups, and the Death card. We have the Knight of Wands at the bottom of the deck. I mean, this feels like... This almost kind of feels like you have been dealing with a projection. It may not even be just one, you know, it could even be one that's just kind of really kicked your ass a little bit. They'll do that. Definitely. We'll go through each one of these cards, of course. And yeah, so we start with this Nine of Wands. Wands having to do with action, communication. I see them as being the cards of information as well, whether you're receiving that information or giving it. The Nine of Wands is the wounded warrior card. Like, you've been through it, right? You have definitely been through it. However, you're still standing. You might be taking a little bit of a breaky poo, you know, kind of giving yourself, like, sitting down and catching a breath type of thing. But you're not a quitter, right? And with it being the 9, it's like you're close to the end of it. You're close to it, like, finalizing. This is technically, with a 9, it's completed within yourself. It's done. You know, the 10 of Wands is when you start moving beyond it. You start moving forward. So, you know, I mean, this is definitely saying that there has been something that has been weighing on you a bit. And that's kind of why I was saying you could have been dealing with somebody else's projection, whatever that would be for you. It could have to do with your job, your ability to do something. It could have to do with money, resources. It could even have to do with your physical health. I always mention the physical body when a pentacle shows up, but we have the Queen of Pentacles down here. And the queens, again, like, dealing individually here, because the 9s have to do with the self, queens have to do with the self as well. For me, like, we recognize the energy of the suit within ourselves first. So it's kind of like we perfect the energy within ourselves. We see it, we recognize it, we embody it, we're living it. And then we move on to the King, which is where, you know, we start sharing that with other people, or allowing other people to even, you know, kind of come into our existence. So, you know, like, it's interesting that both of these cards have to do with the self. So, you know, I mean, the Queen of Pentacles is also very nurturing, kind of mother den type of energy, or den mother energy. I mean, you could be that friend in the friend group that, you know, kind of takes care of everybody else, or is expected to. And it could just be at this point where you're like, I don't even want to be in that role anymore, right? Where I'm looked at as being the one who's responsible, or the one that has to make the right decisions for everybody else when they don't, right? It could even, like I said, it could even have to do with work, where you're taking on more responsibility because somebody, you know, like, they just almost kind of recognize that you can. And maybe you can, but maybe you don't want to, and they're probably not paying you anymore for it, right? It's 2022. We don't do that anymore. So yeah, you know, it just kind of feels like there's this exhaustion coming in with having to carry a load, really. In whatever aspect. I mean, of course, this can be in relationship. It could be romantic relationship. It could be platonic, like I said, with your friend group. It can be with business. But there is something here that that you're feeling burnt out. And then we have this Ace of Cups here. And the Ace of Cups talks about your cup being full. Cups having to do with our emotions. So, you know, feeling good about something, it's love, right? Desire, passion, how that lives in the emotional body. But, you know, this cup is also overflowing here. So you have enough. It's like, you know, your cup has been full, but so much so where it's overflowing. And you feel like you have the capacity, you have the energy to share with other people, because that's when we move on to the Two of Cups. But this to me, you know, like with it coming after this pairing, this to me seems like, you know, it's almost kind of like you're looking for a way to fill your cup, recharge almost, or even looking for something to be excited about again, like looking for that thing that makes you light up and fills your cup, right? And then we have the Three of Cups down here, which generally talks about celebration. It talks about friendships, right? I mean, community, networking. There's generally other people involved with this. But what I want to point out here is that, you know, I find it interesting that the card is represented by raccoons here. And I just get this feeling that they are just taking and taking. We have this one cup here that's kind of, you know, it's on its side, so it's been flipped over. And then we have these two that are kind of, you know, wrestling over this one cup here. We have this one that's putting their nose into this other cup that's on the counter. It seems very selfish. Like it seems like there is an energy around where they are taking, but they are not giving. Because that's kind of what like raccoons do though, right? It's like constantly kind of foraging for food, like going through trash. We have a couple trash cans back here. Scavenging for stuff, right? So I just get this feeling of like, it's almost like you can't even either like get a break, or there's not necessarily much that is filling your cup. It's really just like as soon as it's full, it's being depleted. And I love how over here we have the Page of Wands and the Death card. So this to me feels like boundaries. I love that we have a start like this. I don't love this, you know, like, of course, I don't love this for you. This is not an energy, and this is not an easy energy to be in. But I love that the Death card is on the table and it's right at it's literally the last card of the spread, right? Because this is telling me that this whole thing, it needs to be shut down. Which of course, you know, again, like boundaries aren't even easy to do. But with this being the page here, the page is the youngest of the court cards. I love that we have the Knight of Wands at the bottom of the deck here. So that's even, you know, a progression quickly here. So even setting minimal, almost like boundaries. I don't want to say soft boundaries. That kind of came to mind, but I'm like, no. I mean, the thing about soft boundaries is that, you know, I mean, people still will cross them, right? I mean, like, it's difficult for people to come around to honoring people's boundaries, especially if they don't have their own, so they don't even know how to navigate boundaries because they don't have their own, so they just break everybody else's, right? But wands, again, action, communication, and information, right? And the page being the youngest of that, it's like it's trying different things. They have this energy of being excited about the adventure. There's an enthusiasm quality to it as well. This could even be just, you know, really kind of pouring yourself back into, I don't know why I said back into, but we'll roll with it. The thing that you do enjoy. Like when you are kind of hermiting out, like what do you like to do besides rest from having to people? Like, is there a certain hobby? Is there something that does fill your cup? Reading, art, you know, true crime. That's mine. But, right, so, I mean, it's like kind of taking this, it's taking any action towards ending the cycle. Or at least like stopping this one, because I mean, the death card, it's not the world. So this is like, you know, stopping a cycle that you're in so that a new one can begin. There's that saying that goes, every beginning disguises itself as an end. And that's what this is. Because, you know, like when that cycle does come to an end, it frees up the energy for something new to begin. And we have this Knight of Wands at the bottom of the deck here. And the Knight of Wands, again, you know, like this progression from the page to the Knight here has the energy to expand on their interests. Maybe even communicating them more. Maybe even, you know, kind of... the word that's going through my head again is expanding on them. I wonder, is that, what is that? Is that a badger? Let's see. When the Knight appears, the time for swift, decisive action has arrived, and there is no time for delay. For success, you will need to strike the perfect balance between persistence and arrogance, between being a go-getter and being a bully. What? Let's see. A situation may have you feeling like you are being pulled in two different directions. I hate the word bully. Oh, it's a Wolverine. So it doesn't look like the one in the cartoons. I love it. Be creative, be bold. Dig deep and find the courage to play the part, because things will fall into place when you do. yeah, like this, you know, even if you have been, this could even be, oh my gosh, I feel like my head just like exploded. But even if you have been, like, even with your friend groups, your job, even in your relationship, if you're involved in a romantic relationship, if you have had a certain role within those dynamics, right? And it's something that you're like, that's not even, either that's not what I'm interested in, that's not even, you know, like taking my experience and expertise into account, right? Like it's kind of like you've outgrown it. And this would be saying that it's kind of time to start almost like communicating those. Even, you know, like, you know how they say like dress for the job you want? Like start acting like the role that you want. And it's kind of like, you know, people around you will start to shift. Like they will start to recognize that you're changing and your behavior has been elevated, and their behavior will shift. And you'll know whether, you know, that's a good thing, and, you know, they can stay around, you can keep them around or not. You know, there's nothing that says that you are obligated to interact with every single person. I mean, I know, of course, like with jobs and stuff, there's an etiquette and stuff there, but because, yeah, I mean, even up here, like this 9 of Wands, again, you know, just feeling this exhaustion. Ace of Cups, right? Like this hope, what you either, you know, having your cup filled or wanting to go after something that you love, wanting to have that energy in your life, like waking up to something that you enjoy doing and want to get out of bed for, right? And this would be literally like starting to act on what that is, starting to move in a direction, make decisions, even, you know, like show up in that energy, start communicating in that way. And then down here, this Queen of Pentacles, this elevation, right? This could be how you see yourself. 3 of Cups, where, I mean, this could be celebration. I'm still kind of getting this feeling of like people are just not recognizing. It's like they're stuck in their perceptions. And then this Death card where it's coming to an end, because after this Knight of Wands here, right, this is that level up from this Page of Wands to the Knight of Wands. You have the 9 of Cups, which is wish fulfillment. Page of Cups, there's an offer here, an offer coming in. I love that. There's definitely, yeah, I mean, there's definitely some sort of like evolution, like some sort of like glow up happening here. Going from this 9 of Wands to the Death card in a single reading, that just, I mean, like you're like at your wit's end. And the energy of the situation is also at its wit's end. So the energy is here to make this shift. And even if it takes baby steps, right? I mean, like, again, there's some other saying that somebody used to tell me that the quickest way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time, because it seems like it's impossible, right? It's an elephant. Why would we eat elephants? I don't know. Please don't. But the analogy is just because it's so big and it seems impossible, but all you have to do is just take one step forward. And just worry about that step. Don't even, if we start thinking too far ahead, that's when we start getting a bit anxious, feel overwhelmed. No, we're going to concentrate on this one cup, making moves towards this 9 of Cups, which is literally, again, with the 9s being about the self, feeling great, feeling good about the decisions that you made. That's where you wanted to be, right? And you are. You're going there. Done deal. Like I said, the energy is here for it. Beautiful. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for letting me read your cards. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.